welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is going to be a tag video. I was tagged by Jeff from 101 Bronson in the 10 genres tag, where you tell your 10 favourite films from specific genres. And I'm not quite sure who originated this tag, so I do apologise. I was tagged by 101 Bronson, as I said. I'm not quite sure who started it, so apologies for not mentioning that. So I'm going to go through my 10 top films from specific genres. Those genres being drama, comic book, action, western, adventure, sci-fi, comedy, romance, animated, and horror. It's quite tough, to be honest with you, because I feel that there are some movies that are cross-genre, and then therefore it's like, what do they class as? So I try to go for what I think they class most as, if that makes sense. And I think like adventure and action have the same genre. I always remember going into video shops and seeing the action adventure. That's what it was called. That was the genre. So action and adventure to me is the same genre, more or less. But I tried to and sort of separate it into two different styles of films, at least two different ones. Anyway, so at the end of this video, I will tag some other YouTubers, but it's going to be, if you want to do it and I haven't tagged you, just go for it. Anyway, so let's crack on and let's have a look at my top 10 movies from particular genres. So the first genre we are going to have a look at is horror. This is Fright Night. This is my favourite film overall, so obviously this was going to make an appearance. I've watched this movie countless times. Evil Dead 2 was always my favourite film for a long time, but I think I actually prefer this one. So this is my favourite movie of all time, so therefore obviously it's my favourite horror movie. Arguably it's not a particularly horrific horror movie, more of a sort of horror comedy, but it's obviously under that genre, so I love it. This is the kind of the Blu-ray release that was made to look a little bit like a kind of a VHS from Eureka Films. It's a great release. It's got fantastic special features, including the feature, kind of making of documentary, which is really good. It's just kind of the same discs that were on the steelbook for this. So Fright Night is my horror pick. Say no more. My animated pick. This was hard, because I'll be honest with you, I don't really like animated films. I find animation extraordinarily hard to get interested in. And I used to like animation. When I was younger, and I was kind of like, growing up and even kind of late teens and stuff, I really liked animation. I liked animated movies. But as I've got older, I just cannot get into them. I find them incredibly difficult, and my tastes have changed, and I to be honest with you, actively avoid animation now because I just can't stand. I just can't get into it. It's a little bit like my music tastes have changed. I used to be really into heavy metal and like the heavier stuff like Obituary and Cradle of Filth and stuff like that. But now it just sounds like noise, and I hate it when people put it in their videos and kind of it just sounds like noise now. I sound like a grumpy old man, don't I? But anyway, animation. So this one is probably my overall favourite animated movie. I was kind of toing and froing between this and the Transformers animated movie, but I think this is probably a better film, to be honest with you. Flight of Dragons, it's a sword and sorcery style movie, which is somewhat intelligent. It's kind of, if you're a fan of things like The Lord of the Rings and stuff like this, Dungeons and Dragons, I would stick this one out. It's an older film now, but it's really good, and it's like I say, it's taken quite seriously, which is why I think I can I still like it, and it's even now I would sort of struggle to watch animation, but this one I did enjoy it. I still do hold it in some regard, to be honest with you. It's maybe not one that is on lots of people's lists, because I think this movie's got somewhat forgotten about. This one's from the Warner Archive one. This is one of these burn-on-demand discs, because obviously it's so little demand for it, they actually just burnt them to order. But nonetheless, it's a great movie if you kind of like your sort of, your Lord of the Rings style movies. So, as I mentioned, adventure. This was a hard category for me because I actually think it's more or less the same as action. But I tried to kind of look at more of a swashbuckling style quest type film. I know a lot of people have said Indiana Jones, but I'll be honest with you, Beastmaster is my pick if we're having to go for an adventure movie. To me, this is more of a sword and sorcery as a genre, but as that's not on the list, I'll stick it in adventure. And this is kind of came off the back of Conan, obviously, when that came out, and we had a slew of sword and sorcery movies. But this is like a man on a mission. He's like the Beastmaster hero, having to go on a quest to save the kind of the local land and rescue damsel in distress and all of this. So this is the Vinegar Syndrome release that was released a short time ago. They've actually sent a replacement disc for the Blu-ray version of this, which has actually got improved special effects. So I'm going to have to watch that at some point. Which is my, if Sword and Sorcery was on this list, this would be it. This would be my favourite film from that. But it's for the adventure section. Western is probably a film I've never seen on anyone else's top 5 Westerns list. So this is probably like being offensive to those of you who like Westerns. And I know there's a few of you. I've seen Carlos is from Eastwood for Life fan and Physical Media for Life's top 10 Westerns, and nothing like this was on there. So, but this was my favourite Western, and has an incredible cast. Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, Russell Crowe, Leonardo DiCaprio, Gary Sinise, Lance Henriksen. And this is kind of a tournament movie where essentially Sharon Stone is kind of like a female gunslinger who wants revenge on Gene Hackman, who's the bad guy. And ultimately, it's a kind of a tournament that, kind of thins down all the kind of the combatants and stuff like that. It's a great movie. It's directed, of course, by Sam Raimi, who is obviously famous for the Evil Dead and Spider-Man movies. And, I like both of those films, so it's no surprise that I liked his directorial style in this one. So this is my favourite Western movie. Here's my favourite comedy movie, Weird Science. Now, I will say, I actually don't think this is the funniest comedy. So if I had to say my favourite comedy that I found the funniest, this wouldn't be it. But this is classed as a comedy, and it is one of my favourite films, so therefore it kind of becomes my favourite comedy, even though I don't think it's the funniest comedy that I like, if that makes sense. But as an overall film, I really like the story. I love the characters. I love all the shenanigans that happens. I adore Bill Paxton in this movie, who's like the bullying older brother Chet. And it's a great movie. And even though it's obviously somewhat outdated by today's standards, I love it. Romance. Okay, you might think I'm cheating on this one. I'll be honest with you, I do not like romantic films. And I'll go as far as to say, watching a true romantic film with something like the Notebook or something like tantamount to torture for me. It really is. Sorry, ladies, that is maybe where I'm going wrong there, but I just can't stand it. To be honest with you, I thought I might even put a porn film here, just for kind of like, for shits and giggles, but I couldn't find any, so I went with this one, which is I guess a bromance, technically speaking, but it's the best I've got, because I own very few ones that even have a romantic storyline. This one is obviously more a comedy, to be fair, than a romance, and even then it's kind of a bromance, if you like, but it's about this guy who, played by Paul Rudd, who hasn't really got any friends, and he's engaged to this woman, and they have a great relationship. Apart from he's a bit of a beta male, so to speak, until he comes friends with this other guy. So romance. To be honest with you, I was looking at it, what have I got? And I'm like, I've got about 5 films that have anything to do with romance, and this was probably the one I liked the most. So sorry. Not so good on that one, mate. And I'll be honest with you, drama, which is the next category, was a little bit of a struggle as well, because I like things that you see on the screen that have spectacle, things that you don't really see in real life. So therefore, I don't really have a hell of a lot of interest in drama films. I was thinking about Pulp Fiction, to be honest with you, for this one, but I was kind of like, is that really a drama? So I had a look online and see what kind of category that falls under, and I had a few, but drama was like right down the bottom, and I was like, it's more of a neo-noir crime thriller. So this one was drama was higher on the list, so I went with Braveheart, which I know is what Lisa loves, has got one on, I think, for her action film, actually. Like I said, this is more of a cross-genre movie, but it's classed as historical drama, so I'm going with it. The only other movie that I would say would maybe be Gran Torino, which is obviously the Clint Eastwood movie, but I don't own that. So I saw that a little while ago and really liked it, but I don't have it. But I do like that film. So this is obviously the UK Steelbook. There's been a couple of them. This one obviously stars Mel Gibson, William Wallace, a kind of somewhat fictionalised take on a real historical figure. Arguably, you could say it's more of an action, as I say, but to me, this is more of a drama. So I guess you could even say Gladiator would be a similar thing, but because that is not based on true events, I went with Braveheart. And we were also going to confuse things with another cross-genre movie, and that one is Predator. But this is my pick for my action movie. And Physical Media for Life had the same conundrum. Does this class as action or does it class as science fiction? To me, because this is like set on Earth and it's like mainly got soldiers in it with one... Obviously, we have an alien in it, but it's more of a weapon-based action movie, I would say. So to me, it falls more under the action category than the science fiction one. If you look at maybe Predators, the third sequel, and the other ones, maybe it'd be more science fiction. But to me, this is the more of an action film. My favourite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and I was thinking, oh, shall I put Commando in because that's more of a straight action film? But no, I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice there. It's Predator for me. That's my number one action movie. This is a German steelbook with it's the same steelbook that came in the UK, but this one is from MediaMarkt, so it had this holographic magnet that kind of meant to simulate the heat vision from the Predator, which is quite fun. But yeah, great movie. I love Predator. It's such a that movie has not lost a beat in regards to it. Looks as good now as it did when it kind of first came out. Lovely movie. Science fiction. I know some people might say it's science fantasy, but it's got to be Star Wars, A New Hope, or as I know it, Star Wars. This was the movie this was my first passion, I would say, when I was a kid. You know, I grew up when this came out on cinema. I was young, but it was out on cinema. It was the first thing I really remember getting interested in. And I saw this at the cinema. It came out like a year later in the UK than it did in America. So I was just about old enough to kind of sort of be taken to the cinema, about 4 or something like that. And it's my earliest memory watching this film. And I remember watching it religiously, recorded on the TV on VHS when it sort of came out on... we videoed it and watched it pretty much every day. And obviously because of that, it has had a big impact on my life. And it's probably made me into somewhat of a geeky, person as I am today. Even though I have gone off Star Wars in more recent times, this movie, I can put on and watch at any point and be entertained. But yeah, there might be more technically better made films that are science fiction, but to me this one is always holds a place in my heart. And then finally, the comic book movies. And to be honest with you, it's this one. Blade is my favourite comic book movie. It was a tough choice between this and Captain America: The Winter Soldier, I would say. But I think overall I actually like Blade. The only thing maybe that I don't like with this movie is some of the kind of CGI has really aged quite badly. But I just love the movie. It's because it has elements of action, horror, comic book movie. And I think this is Wesley Snipes' best film. And, a movie that he's always going to be kind of known for. And I don't think, to be honest with you, the new Marvel one that will end up coming out will top this, I don't think. So yeah, Blade's always been a favourite comic book movie of mine. And I do love this movie and adore it. And I've got lots of editions of it. And that's it. So that is my top 10. What did you think? Any kind of shockers there from anyone? And there you go. So I hope you enjoyed that list. It was tougher than I thought to, as before. I wanted to try and keep it ones that I actually had on kind of physical media. Anyway, so I'm now going to tag a couple of other YouTubers. I know some other YouTubers have already been tagged from other videos, so I'm trying to not double up. Some of you may not even realise you've been tagged. So just, if I haven't mentioned you, you may well have already been tagged. So I'm going to tag Blu-Ray Benn down there in Spain. You know, obviously a big Blu-Ray collector. Speaking of Blu-Ray collectors, I'm going to tag Blu-Ray Collector. You're tagged. I'm going to tag the horror miser Monty G. I'm going to tag APB Reviews. And finally, I'm going to tag Nready. So all you guys are tagged. If you want to do this tag video, you don't have to, obviously, but conversely as well, if you want to do the tag and I haven't tagged you, feel free. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.